working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, Malma Angeles, and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila in Vietnam. Hello, Eliana.
Hi, I'm Eliana Faith Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, giving you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines,
Most qualified
President Duterte has shown courage in asserting the Philippines' rights in the West Philippine Sea, according to Malacanang on Wednesday.
Virus-wrapped Indonesia posted record daily infections, topping 54,000 on Wednesday as the highly infectious Delta variant rips across the archipelago, catapulting it ahead of India as Asia's COVID-19 epicenter.
New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern will host an emergency meeting of APEC leaders Friday, aimed at bolstering vaccine rollouts to contain the fast-spreading coronavirus variants now fueling the pandemic.
Myanmar's junta rejected on Wednesday a UN Human Rights Council resolution calling for reconciliation with the persecuted Rohingya minority, slamming one-sided allegations over its treatment of the stateless community.
First, here in the Philippines, President Duterte has shown courage in asserting the Philippines' right in the West Philippine Sea. That, according to Malacanang on Wednesday, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque made this remark after Vice President Leni Robredo urged the Duterte administration to show courage in asserting the country's landmark arbitral tribunal victory against China. Secretary Roque admitted that the palace was no longer surprised by the remark made by Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian, describing the Philippines' July 2016 arbitral award as just a piece of paper. Take a look.
papel lang yan. Magandang tanghali, Pilipinas. Hindi na tayo nagulat nang sinabi ng Chinese Foreign Ministry na ang July 2016 arbitral award ay, I quote, a piece of paper, end quote. Now, pero kung inyong matatandaan, pinagdiinan ng Pangulo sa 75th General Session ng United Nations General Assembly noong September 2020 na patuloy na ina-affirm ng Pilipinas ang commitment sa South China Sea in accordance with UNCLOS and the 2016 Arbitral Award. The President said, and I quote, "The award is now part of international law, beyond compromise and beyond the reach of passing governments to dilute, diminish, or abandon. We firmly reject attempts to undermine it." So bilang sagot sa sinabi ng spokesperson ng Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, ang tingin po natin, ang award ay kabahagi na ng international law. Yan po ay sang-ayon sa Article 38 ng ICJ statute, ay subsidiary means of finding out the applicable norm of customary international law, at yan po ay under Article 38 of the ICJ statute, writings of the most qualified publicists on the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
On July 12, 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, Netherlands, ruled in favor of the Philippines' petition, saying China has no legal basis to assert its supposedly historic rights over nearly the entire South China Sea. China, however, stood pat on its decision to reject the ruling, calling it illegal and invalid.
Meanwhile, the government also dismissed a new report that Filipino fishermen are being prevented by Chinese vessels from fishing near the Panatag or Scarborough Shoal in the West Philippine Sea.
Secretary, yan po ay walang katotohanan dahil po sa ngayon po lagi pong nakamonitor ang LGU, lalo sa ating mga mangingisda dahil binigyan po natin sila ng sarili po nilang lansya. At Sa ngayon po, kasama ko rito ang may mga ari ng lansya na parang gumagawa po sila ng salita. Kaya po, dinala ko sila rito para makausap nyo mismo, Mr. Secretary, na sila po ay lumalampas pa doon sa Scarborough. At pagpapatunay na marami pong isda sa ngayon. Kung gusto nyo po, bisitahin nyo po ang bayan ng Masinloc.
Sige po.
Yung issue yan ay na pinupukol sa atin ay 2018 pa. Inilabas siya ng 2019 election. Ngayon, mag-e-election na naman, nire-refresh lang nila yung dating issue. Sir, ito po yung may-ari ng lansya mismo.
Okay.
Tauhan niya yung nagsalita.
O bakit naman po nagsalita ang tauhan ninyo na hindi raw sila pangingisda sa borot? Ano ba kung katotohanan bilang may-ari ng lansya mismo?
Wala pong katotohanan yun, sir. Opo, tsaka wala pong nababalita na may harassment po doon sa Scarborough, sir.
Good afternoon. Ano po kayo?
Meron po kaming lansya, umaabot po kami ng Scarborough Shoal. Lumalagpas pa po kami, actually umaabot kami ng 160 nautical miles. Wala pong katotohanan na may nag-haras kasi malaya po kaming nakakapamalakaya doon at nakakapangisda.
In May, the Department of Foreign Affairs rejected China's unilateral fishing ban in the South China Sea, noting that the ban encroaches areas on Philippine territory and exclusive economic zone, including Bajo de Masinloc. The supposed fishing moratorium runs from May 1 to August 16.
In other news, the Philippine government welcomed the United States' open support for the 2016 landmark ruling that invalidated China's sweeping claims under its so-called 9-dash line map in the South China Sea. We welcome the United States' open support for the 2016 Arbitral Award. It is binding international law and the most authoritative application of UNCLOS, or United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, on the maritime entitlements of features in the South China Sea, according to Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. in his intervention at the Special Association of Southeast Asian U.S. Foreign Ministers meeting. Locsin stressed the decision contributes to the rules-based order in ASEAN and benefits all the countries that use the vital artery that is the South China Sea, and that the rest is bluster. On the 5th anniversary of the Arbitral Tribunal ruling on July 12, State Secretary Antony Blinken repeated Washington's commitment to protect the country during an armed attack against its public vessels or aircraft in the South China Sea. He also cited the Hague-based court's ruling that China has no lawful claim to the areas that fall within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone and continental shelf.
Travelers from Indonesia are also banned from entering the Philippines until the end of July to prevent the spread and community transmission of COVID-19 variants in the country. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque announced that President Rodrigo Duterte has approved the recommendation to include Indonesia in the list of 7 countries currently in the travel restrictions. Nations already listed in the travel ban are India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, United Arab Emirates, and Oman. Roque said travelers from Indonesia will be barred from entering the country from July 16 to July 31. Passengers already in transit from Indonesia within 14 days immediately preceding arrival to the Philippines, who before July 16 may still be allowed to enter the country. However, these passengers will be required to undergo a full 14-day facility quarantine even after getting a negative reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction, or RT-PCR, result. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III earlier said the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF-EID, has recommended a travel ban from Indonesia as it battles a worsening surge in COVID-19 infections.
Meanwhile, virus rack Indonesia posted record daily infections, topping 54,000 on Wednesday as the highly infectious Delta variant rips across the archipelago, catapulting it ahead of India as Asia's COVID-19 epicenter. The Southeast Asian nation has been battered by a virus explosion that overwhelmed hospitals, leaving scores to die at home, while desperate relatives hunt for oxygen tanks to treat the sick. On Wednesday, Indonesia's health ministry posted its highest ever 54,517 new cases and 991 deaths in 24 hours. Recent daily mortality rates are as high as 10 times the numbers in early June. But the official data is widely believed to be a severe undercount due to low testing rates and poor contact tracing. Indonesia could become the epicenter of the pandemic, but it's already the epicenter of Asia, said Deki Bodiman, an Indonesian epidemiologist at Australia's Griffith University. He said, if you look at the population difference between India and Indonesia, then the pandemic is far more serious than in India. Budiman warned that Indonesia's real number of daily cases could be topping 100,000 a day and threatened to double by the end of the month, with as many as 2,000 daily virus deaths.
Indonesians line up to refill oxygen tanks as the country's virus infections rise significantly. Daily cases soared to a record of 47,899 new infections and 864 deaths on Tuesday. Let's take a look.
Pelanggan tetap warga RW 08 Penangkapan muter-muter kemana lagi bingung gitu.
We go now to Thailand, where the government is now going ahead with its plan to mix the doses of Sinovac and AstraZeneca vaccines, even though the WHO top scientists warned that it was a dangerous trend not backed by evidence. The kingdom is struggling to contain its latest outbreak, fueled by the highly contagious Delta variant, with cases and deaths skyrocketing and the healthcare system stretched thin. Here's Gila Pablo joining us live. Hello, Gila.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon, Alma. And that's right. This is a follow-up news from Bangkok Post. The government is moving through with its plan to combine doses of Sinovac and AstraZeneca vaccines. The Prime Minister, Prachon Ocha, stressed that he's not against the cross-vaccination and called for thorough examination of the job policy adjustment during Tuesday's teleconference cabinet meeting. This was after the WHO announced last Monday that people should not mix and match vaccinations. WHO chief scientist said that public health organizations should make the decisions based on available information. They are still waiting for the results, Alma, of mix and match trials of vaccines because immunogenicity and safety must be both assessed. And on Tuesday, Alma, a virus specialist insisted that combining Sinovac and AstraZeneca vaccines was safe and that it was Thailand's best choice for combating the fast-spreading Delta strain. Then on Wednesday, Alma government spokesman Mr. Anucha clarified the misunderstanding among hospitals and health authorities that the Prime Minister hope that all parties be open to the National Communicable Disease Committee's opinion on cross doses and give it considerable thought. He added that the government's main objective was to get more people vaccinated since Delta variant's rapid growth is causing great havoc, Alma, not only here in Thailand, of course, but all around the world. And last Tuesday, Nantaburi was the first province to express its support to the ministry's new cross-dose policy, only to have it revoked its decision the next day. And that was Wednesday morning. Then on the same day, Chiang Mai Provincial Public Health Office also announced its suspension on its vaccine services. Back to you, Alma.
Right. Thank you, Gila. Gila, I saw your picture. You got your first dose of vaccine?
Yes, I got it last July too.
And how did you feel after the vaccine? Did you get any side effects?
Actually, I only have the fatigue. That's all I have, Alma, and body pain. But the rest, no fever, no chills, no headache, and I was feeling okay for how many days after that.
Very good. Did you get the Astra or Sinovac?
I got AstraZeneca.
Okay, same here. Thank you very much, Gila, for your update, and looking forward to more. Stay safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much also, Alma, and stay safe to you also. I'm Gila Pablo reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. We live in interesting times.
An ocean liner on a cruise to nowhere is forced to return to Singapore earlier than scheduled after a coronavirus case was detected on board, according to reports. The Dream cruises ship's 1,646 passengers and 1,249 crew members have been asked to remain in their cabins as the vessel is disinfected and contact tracing completed, the Singapore Tourism Board's director for cruises said. The 40-year-old passenger who had tested negative before boarding was taken to hospital for further tests, and the health ministry later confirmed the passenger had the virus. Local media reported the guest was fully vaccinated. The cruises, starting and ending in Singapore with no stops, were launched last year as part of the travel industry's attempt to bounce back from a pandemic-induced crunch.
Meanwhile, residents across Myanmar's biggest city are defying a military curfew in a desperate search for oxygen to keep their loved ones breathing as a new coronavirus wave crashes over the cool-racked country. Yi Kiao Mo, a sailor, said he slipped out at 3 in the morning, half an hour before the lifting of a military-imposed curfew, just to get a place in the oxygen line. But when he arrived there at the refill center in Yangon, there were already 14 others in front of him, and this was at 3 in the morning. Take a look.
ဒါအခုဒါကျွန်တော်မအိပ်ပဲနဲ့3နာရီ15 20လောက်မှာပေါ့ကိုကောင်းလေးကိုလက်ရှောင်သွားသေးတယ်ဗျဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်မာရှယ်လို့ထုတ်ထားတာဟုတ်4နာရီ10နာရီတော့အဲသူတို့ကတွေ့မှလဲဆိုးပါတယ်အဲ့တော့3နာရီကြော်လောက်မှာထွက်လာပေါ့3နာရီခွဲလောက်ဒီရောက်တယ်ပေါ့ကျွန်တော်နံပါတ်15ကျွန်တော်အရှိမစီနီယံတွေအများကြီးရှိသေးတယ်စဖြစ်တယ်3ရက်ပဲရှိတယ်ပေါ့ပထမနေ့ကသူကမူးတယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့ပရက်ရှာရလို့မူးတယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့လုပ်တယ်ဟောပေါ့ဒီဆေးတွင်းနဲ့ဆေးထိုးတယ်ပေါ့ဆေးလေးစားပြီးတော့နေပေါ့ဒီအောက်ဆီဂျင်ရှိတယ်နေ့တည်းပေါ့နေ့တည်းကလည်းတော်တော်ခံစားလိုက်တာပေါ့သူကကြက်လို့ဒီတော့ဘာယောဂခံမှမရှိဘူးဒီမနေ့ကျမှအခုတန်းစီတန်းနဲ့အိမ်မှာအောက်ဆီဂျင်လည်းညကျွန်တော်တူတကောင်ဟိုကနေအိုးကြီးလုံးပြီးအဲ့ဒါပြီးတော့အိုးပြတ်တော့အိုးကုံတော့ကုံတော့ပြောနေတာအခုတော့အောက်ဆီဂျင်ကုံရတာဟုတ်
Now, the spike in cases is the latest blow to Myanmar, already suffering from a February coup and a bloody crackdown on dissent that has killed over 900 people and gutted the economy. Hundreds are queuing across Yangon as the sun rose on Wednesday in the hope of refilling blue oxygen cylinders to take home to family members stricken with the coronavirus. Now, some had brought chairs and prepared for a long wait. Authorities logged over 7,000 new cases on Wednesday, compared with fewer than 50 per day back in early May. Millions in Yangon and the second city of Mandalay have been ordered to stay home, but the toll continues to rise and volunteer teams are stepping in to remove the bodies of victims from their neighborhoods. The State Administration Council, as the junta calls itself, says there is no need for alarm. Actually, we have enough oxygen, ran the headline in Tuesday's Global New Light of Myanmar, a state-backed newspaper. The people don't need to worry about it so much and should not spread the rumor. It quoted junta leader Min Aung Hlaing as saying, "The new wave comes with the country reeling from post-coup violence and with many medical workers joining a nationwide civil disobedience campaign against the military." Infections are also seeping across Myanmar's porous borders. Last week, a cluster in the border city of Ruweli helped push China's daily caseload to its highest in 6 months. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Eliana and I will be back right after this break.
Tagisan ng Galing is supported by Magnolia Incorporated. Magnolia ready-to-cook fried chicken. Worry-free na on your next family meal. Yan ang alagang Magnolia. Pure Foods Tender Juicy Hot Dog. Walang duda, kids can tell na #1 ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy Hot Dog. Sanig sugar-free white coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. B-Mag Premium and ProTac Plus Gold. SMC Infrastructure and Skyway Stage 3 Citrus Central Expressway Corporation. San Miguel Foundation Incorporated. Max Pro Northern Cement. Lamang ka dito. Petron Corporation. SMC Global Power. San Miguel Aero City Incorporated. Bank of Commerce. An affiliate of San Miguel Corporation. We think customers. We are IT Philippines Incorporated. China Bank. Your success is our business.
Hubert, your ultimate maps air conditioning solutions.
Events happen around us all the time. In our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news, because we live in interesting times.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. Myanmar's junta rejected on Wednesday a UN Human Rights Council resolution calling for reconciliation with the persecuted Rohingya minority, slamming one-sided allegations over its treatment of the stateless community. On Monday, the Council adopted a resolution calling for constructive and peaceful dialogue and reconciliation in accordance with the will and interest of the people of Myanmar, including Rohingya Muslims. The resolution was based on false information and one-sided allegations, the junta's foreign ministry said in a statement. The term Rohingya, which is invented with wider political agenda, is also unrecognized and rejected by the government, it said. The community had never been recognized as the ethnic nationality of Myanmar, it added. In Myanmar, Rohingya have long been seen as interlopers from Bangladesh and have been denied citizenship, rights, and access to services. More than 700,000 Rohingya currently languish in camps in Bangladesh after a deadly 2017 military assault on their communities in western Rakhine State that now sees the country facing genocide charges. Junta leader Min Aung Hlaing, who was head of the armed forces during the crackdown, has dismissed the word Rohingya as an imaginary term.
Now, despite a spike in coronavirus cases in Myanmar, around 100 women marched briefly in Yangon's Botatong township to protest against the military coup, which brought the army to power in February. Take a look.
The U.S. has deep concerns about the situation in Myanmar following February's coup, urging the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to take action, the State Department said Tuesday. Myanmar has been in chaos and its economy paralyzed since the military ousted Aung San Suu Kyi's government earlier this year, accusing it of fraud during 2020 elections. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called on ASEAN to take joint action to urge the end of violence, the restoration of Burma's democratic transition, and the release of all those unjustly detained. State Department spokesman Ned Price said in a statement using the country's former name, as well as expressing his deep concern about ASEAN member Myanmar. Blinken also pushed the bloc to put into place its 5-point plan for Myanmar drafted in April, calling on ASEAN to take immediate action to hold the Burmese regime accountable to the consensus and to appoint a special envoy, said Price. Earlier this month, Washington imposed fresh sanctions on 22 people related to the military coup and subsequent attacks on the country's pro-democracy movement. Former leader Suu Kyi is currently under house arrest while on trial for a raft of charges that could see her jailed for more than a decade. Mass demonstrations against the takeover were met with violent repression around the country, which is also dealing with surging coronavirus infections.
Now, Skyway O&M operator of the Skyway system and a unit under San Miguel Corporation's or SMC infrastructure expects more seamless movement along the new Skyway Stage 3 with the implementation of new measures to avoid congestion on access and exit points following the first day of the toll collection on the elevated expressway. Now, these measures resulted in faster throughput of vehicles even at high-volume toll plazas just a day later. SMC President Ramon Ang said in a statement on Wednesday that it's unfortunate that many motorists were caught in traffic last Monday, and they apologized and said that they need to do better. He also said he's hopeful with the measures they put in place. Traffic conditions will continue to improve and normalize. Ang said that traffic throughput at toll plazas slowed down Monday primarily due to vehicles with insufficient load, as well as those availing of free radio frequency identification or RFID sticker installation and reloading on site. Among the measures Skyway has since implemented are now the deployment of more personnel for traffic management, toll collection, and auto sweep RFID sticker installation, opening of more lanes for auto sweep RFID installation and reloading, and installation of more signs to guide the motorists who are unfamiliar with the expressway, its toll plazas, and the start of toll collection. Motorists with no RFID stickers who insist on paying in cash or have insufficient balance are asked to exit the toll booth and park on the side so as not to inconvenience existing EDC users, and they're given the option to have RFID tags installed or reloaded or pay in cash.
New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern will host an emergency meeting of APEC leaders Friday aimed at bolstering vaccine rollouts to contain the fast-spreading coronavirus variants now fueling the pandemic. The virtual meeting, called with less than 5 days' notice, would also examine the 21-nation Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC group's response to its biggest economic crisis since World War II, the Prime Minister said. New Zealand is scheduled to host an online summit of APEC leaders in November, but Ardern said the extraordinary circumstances created by COVID-19 warranted an additional urgent meeting. Ardern argued that runaway outbreaks of the Delta variant in Thailand and Indonesia showed why it was a mistake for countries to prioritize inoculating their own populations over international cooperation. New variants could prove more jab-resistant, potentially undermining the very vaccines we're working so hard to provide. She said U.S. President Joe Biden and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin would attend the virtual meeting, while China's foreign ministry confirmed President Xi Jinping's participation. APEC's 21 member economies are Australia, Brunei, Darussalam, Canada, Chile, People's Republic of China, Hong Kong, China, Indonesia, Japan, Republic of Korea, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Peru, the Republic of the Philippines, the Russian Federation, Singapore, Chinese Taipei, Thailand, United States of America, and Vietnam.
Here in the country, the investment banking arm of Metrobank Group expects the Philippine economy to recover with a growth of 5 to 6% by the end of the year, reversing the 9.6% contraction in 2020 amid the pandemic. The First Metro Investment Corporation, or FMIC, sees the faster global economic recovery, accelerated vaccine mobilization, sustained supportive fiscal and monetary policies, and the government's commitment to push infrastructure projects fueling this year's growth. Our dependable and resilient OFW, or Overseas Filipino Workers remittances, which grew 13% year-on-year in April this year, and BPO, or Business Process Outsourcing Services, are anticipated to perform even better as employment starts to pick up and more people get inoculated. Consumer confidence is also expected to improve, FMIC President Jose Patricio Dumlao said in a virtual press briefing on Wednesday. Dumlao also said the upcoming election next year is also anticipated to support growth. University of Asia and the Pacific, or UAP economist Dr. Victor Abola said the investment banking arm's growth forecast for this year slightly follows the government's growth target range of 6 to 7%. The FMIC last January made a growth forecast of 5.5 to 6.5% for this year, with sustained government spending and the rollout of coronavirus vaccines. Abola attributed the slight downward revision of this year's economic growth forecast to the negative growth in the first quarter due to the resurgence of the coronavirus disease cases. The Philippine economy shrank at a slower pace in the January to March period of 4.2%, but was expected to stage a recovery in the following quarters.
ASEAN in Focus will be back after a short break.
Dito na po kayo natutulog dalawa ni Andre?
Katimulan na araw dyan kami.
So ganyan po kahira para lang makalabas sa inyong munting tahanan. Wala man nga silang mga bagay na tinatamasa ng karamihan, pero ang samahan nilang mag-ama ay patuloy na pinatitibay ng kanilang pagsusumikap para makaahon sa buhay.
Si tatay agad nagigising sa akin. Pagdating po ng tanghali, hindi na po kami kumakain. Tapos pagdating ng hapunan, ano na lang po, nagkakape po kami ni tatay. Isa lang ate kami.
Yung mga nakuha kong mga kalakal na binibenta ko sa nagiging pagkain namin. Sandaan sang araw.
Kahit sabihin mong mainit yung mainit yung panahon, nag-aanap po siya ng kalakal para lang po pangkain lang namin. Kahit ganito kami, gusto rin po namin umangat na dalawa, magkasabay po.
Ito magsisilbing uniforme mo. Pagkatapos, ito ang iyong mga magiging modules.
Ang mga malaki pong tulong para sa amin pong marama. Ang binigay po sa amin tulong na binigay po.
Ako si Apple David at ito ang Lingap Stories.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. The UN warned Thursday that a perfect storm was brewing, with a raging pandemic disrupting access to routine vaccinations, leaving millions of children at risk from measles and other deadly diseases. A full 23 million children missed out on basic childhood vaccines last year, as routine health services were hit worldwide by restrictions aimed at controlling COVID-19, and many parents shunned the clinics that were open for fear of exposure to the virus. It marks the highest number in over a decade and 3.7 million more than in 2019, according to data published Thursday by the World Health Organization and the UN's Children's Agency, UNICEF. And the sharp decline in routine vaccinations comes as many countries have begun loosening restrictions even as the pandemic is far from over. This has the potential of not only driving up COVID transmission, but also of allowing otherwise vaccine-preventable diseases to begin spreading. That is because the restrictions in many countries have until now also provided a buffer protecting unvaccinated children against exposure to childhood diseases. Pakistan, Indonesia, and the Philippines also saw the number of unprotected children rise significantly.
Back here in the country, the Philippine National Police Chief, General Guillermo Eleazar, directed the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or CIDG, and the Anti-Cybercrime Group, or ACG, to investigate the alleged sale of falsified negative coronavirus swab test results. Now, according to reports, negative reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction, or RT-PCR test results are being sold for at least 1,000 pesos each without the person undergoing an actual swab test. Now, some local government units still require travelers to present negative COVID-19 swab test results, even if they're already fully vaccinated. Eleazar called the scheme deplorable as it puts public health and the economy at risk. He has also warned chiefs of police that they may be held liable for failure to monitor and act against this illegal activity in their areas of responsibility. Eleazar urged the public to immediately report to authorities any information on this illegal activity.
Vietnam is looking to increase control over live streaming on popular social media platforms such as Facebook and YouTube, according to a draft government decree as the country aims to tighten its grip on cyberspace. The proposed decree comes 2 years after the introduction of a cybersecurity law that mandated internet companies remove content the communist authorities regard as toxic. The law received sharp criticism from the United States, European Union, and internet freedom advocates who said it mimics China's repressive censorship of the internet. Under the terms of the decree, any account that operates on social media platform in Vietnam and has more than 10,000 followers must provide contact information to authorities. Only registered accounts will be allowed to live stream. The proposed decree also says that social media providers must temporarily block or remove content within 24 hours if they receive a justified complaint from an individual or organization affected by the content. Vietnam's Ministry of Information and Communications estimates that Facebook has 65 million Vietnamese members, YouTube has 60 million, and TikTok 20 million, while local platform Zalo has 60 million users.
And staying in Vietnam, the country's first homegrown car manufacturer, VinFast, said it will launch 2 new electric vehicle models early next year in North America and Europe as it pushes to enter the lucrative but crowded market. The car maker is a subsidiary of Vietnam's largest private conglomerate, Vin Group, which is owned by the country's richest man, a press-shy billionaire who started his career selling dried noodles in Ukraine. The company said Monday it had officially begun operations in the U.S., Canada, France, Germany, and the Netherlands, and had recruited staff and opened offices in these key markets. All the vehicles will be made in Vietnam. It aims to launch its new 2 electric car models, the VF E35 and VF E36, in March 2022, according to the company. But VinFast will face stiff competition, especially when going up against big-name brands, including Volkswagen and Elon Musk's Tesla. Now, to prepare for its entry to global markets, the company said it had recruited experts from firms including Tesla, BMW, and Toyota. Domestically, VinFast has already sold vehicles that include sedan and SUV models, along with e-scooters and even electric buses. It sold around 30,000 vehicles last year. Vin Group CEO Pham Nhat Vuong is worth an estimated $7 billion, according to Forbes.
Singapore Wednesday unveiled one of the world's biggest floating solar power farms, covering an area the size of 45 football pitches as part of the city-state's push to cut greenhouse gas emissions. The project is the country's most ambitious yet, compromising 122,000 panels on Tenge Reservoir that will produce enough electricity to run its 5 water treatment plants. Singapore is among the biggest per capita carbon dioxide emitters in Asia, and its land scarcity makes boosting renewable energy sources a challenge. The prosperous financial hub has turned to setting up plants off its coasts and in reservoirs and aims to quadruple solar energy production by 2025. The new farm can produce up to 60 megawatts of electricity and will lead to carbon emissions reductions equivalent to removing 7,000 cars from roads, according to SEMB Corp Industries and National Water Agency Pub. SEMB Corp built the project, which covers about 45 hectares, with backing from the agency.
And as always, thank you very much, Eliana, for keeping me company today.
Thank you, Alma, and that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. Thank you for joining us here today in ASEAN in Focus. I'm Eliana Faith Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
And we'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
Mapupuno ng saya, impormasyon at inspirasyon ang hapon mo sa Afternoon Power. Handog sa inyo ng Net25. Sasabay sa inyong tanghalian ang inyong Happy Time Barkada at 12 noon.